My wife and I tied the knot almost 3 years back, and for a while, everything seemed peachy keen. But then, about a year ago, things took a nosedive when I started noticing some shady behavior from her. It all started when I caught sight of a familiar car parked outside our house one day. None other than her coworker's ride. Now call it a gut feeling or intuition. But I just knew something wasn't right. So I did what any suspicious spouse would do. I hired a private investigator to dig up the dirt. Lo and behold, my worst fears were confirmed. My beloved wife was stepping out on me with her coworker. Can you imagine the shock and anger coursing through my veins? I was fuming to say the least. But wait, it gets juicier. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more dramatic, I received a call from none other than the coworker's wife. Turns out she'd stumbled upon some incriminating texts between our spouses, and she was ready to spill the tea. Armed with this newfound information, we decided to team up and confront the cheaters head-on. As we started comparing notes, the coworker's wife dropped a bombshell. She'd been harboring suspicions about her husband's fidelity ever since she fell pregnant with their third child. It was like a plot straight out of a soap opera, I tell you. And that's when the revenge plot was born. Together, we devised a plan to get back at our unfaithful partners by indulging in a little extramarital rendezvous of our own. And let me tell you, when the opportunity presented itself, it felt like sweet, sweet justice. The chemistry between us was undeniable, and with each secret rendezvous, our bond grew stronger. In fact, I'd go as far to say that she outshowed my wife in more ways than one, especially in the bedroom department. But here's where things take a dark turn. As I delved deeper into the messages exchanged between my wife and her affair partner, I discovered a slew of hurtful and downright despicable remarks. They were mocking the coworker's wife's appearance, body, and even poking fun at my own struggles with fertility. It was a low blow even for someone as heartless as my wife. So, as I prepared a bit of due to my marriage and embark on a new chapter of my life, I can't help but reflect on the whirlwind of emotions that brought me to this point. From heartbreak to betrayal to sweet, sweet revenge. It's been one heck of a roller coaster ride. But hey, they say what goes around comes around, and in this case, karma's got a front row seat to the show. I've been in this marriage game for a few years now, but lately things have been feeling kind of stale. My wife, bless her heart, just hasn't been bringing the heat in the bedroom like she used to. I mean, we're talking crickets here when it comes to oral action. But when the shoe's on the other foot, she's all for it. Talk about a double standard, am I right? Now, on the flip side, there's AP's wife. Let me tell you, we're flying left and right between us. She's got this fire in her that just ignites the passion like nobody's business. We're talking fireworks, my friend, and don't even get me started on the oral. It was like a whole new world of pleasure. But here's where things take a turn. See, this whole affair wasn't just about getting some sweet revenge on my wife for her little indiscretions. No, sir. It was about reclaiming my mojo, my sense of self, you know? And boy, did we get carried away. It was like we were on this wild roller coaster ride of emotions, fueled by anger and desire all at once. But now, as the dust settles and reality starts to sink in, I'm starting to wonder if maybe we've gone too far. Sure, the thrill of revenge was intoxicating, but now it's starting to feel more like a burden than a victory. We've both become tangled up in this web of lies and deceit, and it's starting to weigh on us. As for breaking the news to my wife, well, let's just say I've got a plan in motion. Divorce papers are ready to roll, and with no joint accounts or shared assets to worry about, it should be a relatively painless process. But still, it's going to be tough. We built a life together, and unraveling it all is going to take some serious guts. And then there's AP's wife. Poor thing's got her own set of problems to deal with, especially with kids in the picture. But let me tell you, she's one tough cookie. If anyone can come out of this mess with her head held high, it's her. Look, I know I might come off as the bad guy in all of this. But trust me when I say I've already checked out of my marriage mentally. Sometimes you gotta shake things up to find your true happiness. Even if it means ruffling a few feathers along the way. Now for the update. Hey there, folks. Long time no see on this account, huh? Well, guess what? I've got an update for y'all. Just like many of you asked for. Here's the scoop. So, I finally served my soon-to-be ex-wife with those divorce papers on July 16th. Yeah, I know. Took me a minute to get around to it, but hey, better late than never, right? I decided to do it at her workplace just to keep things interesting. When she got home, I had her bags all packed up and ready to go, and I told her to hit the road and crash at her dad's place for a while. Now, let me tell you, she pulled out all the stops with the whole begging and apologizing routine. Classic cheater move, am I right? But I wasn't about to fall for it. I reminded her that the house we lived in actually belonged to my parents. Yeah, their names are on the deed. So, if she wanted to play hardball, I could easily give them a call and have her kicked out on the curb. But here's where things get juicy. I decided to give her sister a heads up about what was going down, thinking she might actually take her side. Boy, was I wrong? Turns out sis decided to throw some shade my way, saying I wasn't being a good hubby and all that jazz. Like, seriously? Talk about hypocrisy considering she bounced on her own marriage for her cousin. Yeah, you heard that right. Anyway, things took a bit of a dramatic turn when I dropped that truth bomb, and let's just say sis wasn't too happy about it. She even went ahead and gave me a good old slap across the face. Ouch! But hey, I gave her fair warning. This was her last chance to play nice. And as if that wasn't enough drama for one day, the messages from the soon-to-be ex just kept on coming. I didn't bother blocking her, 'cause I wanted to keep a record of it all. She went from begging for forgiveness to straight-up mocking me, saying she never enjoyed our lovemaking and that she and her little fling buddy had gotten busy on every piece of furniture in our house. Yikes. Now, I don't know how much of that is actually true. But you better believe I'll be getting some new furniture ASAP. And just to add a little extra spice to the mix, I thought about dropping the bombshell that her precious car had been defiled by yours truly and the other betrayed spouse. But hey, why ruin the surprise, right? On the latest with my soon-to-be ex-wife. Yeah, we had another chat. And this time her apology seemed pretty legit. She opened up about how she got caught up in everything and admitted she went way overboard. Turns out she's been doing some serious soul-searching lately, especially about the whole kids situation. See, as I've mentioned before, I can't have kids and she's always been cool with that. But now that she's hitting her mid-30s, the whole mom thing's been weighing on her mind big time. She confessed that she kind of flipped out about it and ended up doing some pretty messed up stuff like cheating on me. She said she knows she messed up big time and that I'm actually an awesome partner and husband. But you know she just got caught up in wanting more. And yeah, I had to ask her why she didn't just talk to me about it. Like we could have explored other options, you know. Adoptions, sperm banks, there are options out there. But she just kept it bottled up until it blew up in our faces. Oh, and get this, she dropped the bomb that she might be pregnant. Yeah, I know, crazy, right? But I could tell it wasn't going to be my kid. Like, talk about a plot twist. If I hadn't found out about the affair, she probably would have passed it off as some kind of miracle baby. So I just went with it, congratulated her, and wished her all the best. As for getting this divorce done, I'm all in for that ASAP, and let me tell you about AP's wife. She's not holding back either. She served her husband with divorce papers and is taking him to the cleaners. I've only talked to her a few times, but man, she's been through a lot. She vented wasting her best years with that loser, leaving her modeling career for him, the whole deal. But hey, on a lighter note, I've got a new addition to the family, a cat. Yeah, my soon-to-be ex-wife couldn't stand them, but now my place is going to be a full-on cat paradise. Now to the second story. So I'm a 40-year-old woman just trying to navigate this thing we call life. I've been hitched to my guy who's 4'2" for a solid 14 years. We've had our ups and downs like any couple, but a few months ago, things took a nosedive. Yes, I messed up big time. I cheated on him, and let me tell you, it's been a roller coaster of emotions ever since. Now, I'm not proud of what I did, not one bit. But before you judge, let me explain how it all went down. You see, I do love my husband despite the mess I made. But sometimes people make mistakes, and this was a colossal one. I got involved in an affair with a friend of ours, someone we both knew pretty well. It went on for a few weeks, but it didn't take long before my husband caught wind of what was happening. It happened one day during his lunch break when he unexpectedly came home. Now, that was on you. He hardly ever did that, but little did I know he must have had a gut feeling that something wasn't right when he walked in. We weren't exactly in the middle of anything too scandalous, but we were definitely in a compromising position. You can Imagine the shock on his face. I'll admit I knew right then and there that I had messed up big time. The guilt hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, how could I do this to someone I love? It was a wake-up call, that's for sure. He didn't say much, just left the house and didn't come back until way later that night. I tried calling him, but it was like talking to a brick wall. He wouldn't pick up. The next morning I found him in the kitchen and I started pouring out my apologies. But he wasn't having any of it. Instead, he grilled me with questions about the affair. When it started, how long it had been going on, you name it. It was like he needed to know every little detail. Once he got what he wanted, he left again, leaving me feeling completely lost and alone. I had no idea where he went that day, but he eventually came back home later that night. Since then, things have been strained between us. He hasn't brought up the affair again, but it's like there's this invisible barrier between us now. We go through the motions of being together, but the spark we once had seems to have fizzled out. And let me tell you, the guilt is eating me alive. I never meant to hurt him like this. I know I messed up, but I'm trying to make things right. It's just hard when he won't even speak to me, but I'm not giving up hope just yet. I'll do whatever it takes to fix what I broke, even if it means facing the consequences of my actions head on. The vibe between me and my hubby has been off lately, like way off. It's like there's this invisible barrier between us, and no matter how hard I try, I just can't seem to break through it. He's been distant, cold even, barely saying a word unless it's absolutely necessary. And let me tell you, it's been driving me absolutely bonkers. So with our anniversary creeping up, I couldn't shake this sinking feeling that something big was looming on me. It felt like he was just biding his time, waiting for that special day to pass so he could drop the bombshell. You know, the big D word, divorce. And trust me, I was not about to sit around twiddling my thumbs while he made moves behind the scenes. I went full-on proactive mode, reaching out to lawyers, embracing myself for the worst, but lo and behold, our anniversary came and went, and native zilch, instead of the dramatic confrontation I was expecting, he took me out for this awkward dinner that left me feeling more confused than ever. And just like that, the moment passed and life went on as if nothing had happened. Now fast forward 7 whole months since he caught us red-handed, and you think the topic would have come up at least once, right? Wrong, not AP. It's like we're living in this bizarre alternate reality where the elephant in the room just refuses to acknowledge its presence. And let me tell you, I've tried to bring it up a few times, hoping to get some closure, or at least have a heart-to-heart about what went down, but every time I even tiptoe around the subject, he clams up tighter than a clamshell and spends the rest of the day in this brooding silence that's honestly starting to drive me up the wall. It's like he's walking on eggshells around me, tiptoeing through our conversations like he's afraid of setting off a bomb. And sure, he's still polite in that stiff, formal kind of way, but the warmth, the intimacy we used to share, it's all but disappeared into thin air. And don't even get me started on our love life or lack thereof. It's like we're stuck in this never-ending dry spell, with intimacy becoming more of a distant memory than a present reality. The only time he even comes close to showing affection is when he's pecking me on the cheek before heading out the door for work. It's like our once fiery romance has fizzled out into this lukewarm coexistence. But here's the kicker. All the tension, the awkwardness, and the unanswered questions lingering in the air, I still have no clue what to do about it. I mean, I get it. I messed up big time. I know what I did was wrong, and I've been beating myself up over it ever since. But what really gets me is his nonchalant attitude about the whole thing. Does he even care anymore? Does he still love me? Or am I just some sort of inconvenience he's learned to tolerate? I'm left feeling like a ship lost at sea, adrift in a sea of uncertainty with no lighthouse in sight. And let me tell you, it's not a fun place to be. I don't want to lose him, that's the last thing I want. But every time I try to broach the subject to apologize and clear the air, he shuts me down faster than you can say awkward. It's like I'm banging my head against a brick wall. And honestly, I'm starting to feel like I'm losing my mind. So here I am, stuck in this never-ending cycle of confusion and heartache, desperately searching for answers that seem to be slipping further and further out of reach. I just don't know what to make of it all anymore. And until I do, I'm left to navigate these choppy waters alone, clinging to the hope that somewhere, somehow, we'll find our way back to each other.